Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. If you're watching this in the afternoon, today we have a very special guest. We have our own OEA, Ohio Education Association President Scott DiMauro. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing well, Mr. Carey. How are you?
I'm well, and I'm super stoked that you're here to read to our kids today. Before we hop into that, can I ask you a couple questions?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, here go the first one. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name's Scott DiMauro, as you said, and I live here in Columbus. I've lived here for a long time. I spent a long time teaching high school social studies in Worthington, not too far from here. And for the last few years, I have been an officer in the Ohio Education Association. That's how I got to know Mr. Carey. That's how I got to know a lot of your teachers. Um, the OEA is a union that represents teachers and other people who work in schools from all across the state of Ohio, so that together we can advocate for the kinds of things that are best for kids. So, you know, when we want to make sure that schools have resources, we want to make sure that teachers are protected. We want to make sure that that everybody is safe in their learning. That's what we do, and we do that by joining together. We've got over 100,000 people, which is a lot of people who work in schools all over Ohio that are part of our group.
Okay, wow. So, how did you get to become president of OEA? You told us a little bit about OEA, and I love OEA, the advocate work that
Yeah.
we do. But how did you become president?
So as a teacher, I always wanted to be involved, not just teaching, but also, you know, trying to figure out how can I have some say in the decisions that were being made about our school. And so I got involved in what's called our bargaining team. So we negotiated a contract that dealt with things like how teachers were going to be paid and what kind of health insurance we would have and how long our classes and our school day would be and things like that. And as I got more involved in my own school, and then I got involved in my own school district, I found that there were other people doing this thing in other schools near me. And so got involved in Central Ohio and eventually was lucky enough to be elected as the leader of the Central Ohio Education Association. And then after that, after doing that for a while, I ran for office. We actually, the way we get to be in this job is that other teachers vote for us. And we have a big meeting every year in the spring. And a few years ago, I ran for vice president of the OEA, which is kind of the number 2 position. Was able to get elected to that. And after doing that for a few years, then the president retired and I ran for her job.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that information with us. So I heard you got a few books for us today, 2 books. You want to share what books you have for us, and
Yeah,
which
so
book you're going to read first? I'm sorry.
I'm gonna start with this book called Ivan, the Remarkable True Story of the Shopping Mall Gorilla. It's by Catherine Applegate and illustrated by Brian Karras. This is a true story. So does that mean that it is fiction or nonfiction? Let's see who knows the answer to that question. So the answer is it's nonfiction. But I happen to pick it up, and you know, the reason that this book really stood out for me is I love going to the zoo. I have 2 daughters; they're grown now, but when they were little, we used to go to the zoo a lot. And one of the favorite things that we all love to look at were the gorillas in the zoo. And I always wondered, like, where do those gorillas come from? Well, this story is about a gorilla who had a very unique path to eventually getting to a zoo. So, so are you ready?
Are y'all ready? Are y'all ready? Here we go.
All right. So, Ivan, the remarkable true story of the shopping mall gorilla. In leafy calm, in gentle arms, a gorilla's life begins. The baby was born in a tropical forest in Central Africa. It was part of a large family of Western lowland gorillas. The troop included babies, juveniles, females, and a male leader, the silverback. That's him right there. The more the baby gorilla grew, the more he played. The more he played, the more he learned. He rode on his mother's back. He listened to the hoots and the grunts and the chest beats of his father. He watched the older gorilla, closer and quick, clever and quick, as they wrestled and chased and swung from the vines. He did not learn about humans until it was too late. You see, poachers with loud guns and cruel hands stole the little gorilla and another baby. After thousands of miles and endless days in a black, damp crate, at last came light and fresh air. The jungle, green with life, was gone. The gorillas had traveled halfway around the world to Tacoma, Washington. A man who owned a shopping mall had ordered and paid for them, like a couple of pizzas, like a pair of shoes. People cooed and laughed and held the babies. They dressed them in human clothes and fed them human food. The shopping mall owner ran a Name the Babies contest. The winning names were Burma and Ivan. One dark day, soon after the babies arrived in their strange new world, Burma died. Without her, Ivan was all alone, with too much left to learn. While he was little, Ivan was cute and cuddly. For 3 years, he lived in a home like a human child. He slept in a bed and went to baseball games. He held babies and rode on a motorcycle. He had to learn many things gorillas in the wild don't ever need to know. The one thing Ivan didn't need to learn was how to eat. The more he ate, the more he grew. The more he grew, the less he could live a human life in a human house. A cage in the mall became Ivan's new home. There wasn't much to do. Sometimes Ivan watched TV. Sometimes he played with an old tire. Sometimes he finger painted, signing the papers with his thumbprint. Mostly, he watched the humans watching him. Ivan was about 13 when his coat began to shimmer with silvery white hairs. He'd grown into a silverback gorilla. In the jungle, he would have been ready to protect his family, but he had no family to protect. Year after year passed. People began to grow angry about Ivan's lonely life. Children and adults wrote letters and signed petitions and held protests. Ivan lived in his cage without the company of other gorillas for 27 years before he was sent on another journey. This time, the hands were gentle. Zoo Atlanta wasn't a jungle. It was a place with walls. Still, the breeze carried jungle sounds and scents. Scientists who understood the needs of gorillas helped Ivan adjust slowly, carefully, gently to his new life. Finally, it was time. Was Ivan ready? Cameras clicked. Reporters watched. When Ivan stepped onto the cool green grass, the sunlight gleaming on his silver hair, people cheered and laughed and wept with joy. Ivan, the shopping mall gorilla, was in a place with trees and grass and other gorillas at last. In leafy calm, in gentle arms, a gorilla's life began again. And there's a picture of the real Ivan. In fact, here's another picture of the real Ivan. So I thought this was a good story. It's an interesting story about a gorilla. It's also a story about how people, if they see something that they think is unfair and they speak up and they protest and they let other people know about that we can make change. And the people in Tacoma, Washington made change for Ivan. So he had an opportunity to go to a much better place. He ended up living a very long life in the zoo. He lived until the age of 50, which is much longer than gorillas tend to live in the wild. And it turned out to be a very happy ending, but he had a sad life there for a while. So that was my first story. Hope you enjoyed that. I just wanted to share one other one, and this one's a poem. This one's called "A Place Inside of Me."
Place inside of me. I want to ask one quick question, Scott.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it fair to say you like gorillas?
I love gorillas. I think gorillas are great.
They're actually very cool. I love going to the zoo and seeing them swing or them taking care of their kids. I took my kids up to the zoo last summer before everything shut down. I took them to the zoo, and that's one of the things. My daughter was just fascinated with the baby gorillas, and
yeah. Well, that's one of the things about the babies is that there are things about baby gorillas that make them seem very human, and that's where Ivan was treated almost like a human baby for a while. But the other thing that makes them kind of like humans is that they bond in families. They stick together in families in the wild and in the zoo, and that I think is a pretty cool thing about gorillas. So
that is so cool. I'm sorry I had to ask that question.
Oh,
Kid, to know if that was your favorite animal. What's your favorite animal? Let them know. All right. Sorry. What other book did you have?
So the other one I have is called "A Place Inside of Me," a poem to heal the heart. This is written by Zetta Elliott and illustrated by Noah Denman.
And here we go.
Yeah, I think this is a story that really stood out to me because I know there have been a lot of things that have happened, especially in the last year or so. We see things in the news that make us upset, that make us confused, that sometimes make us angry, and sometimes make us want to stand up and try to speak out for change that is important. And just like people spoke out to try to bring about change because they saw a gorilla that was treated unfairly, sometimes people speak out because they think other people are being treated unfairly. And so this poem, I think, speaks to those feelings that we have and how we can. It's so important that we're paying attention to those feelings, and sharing them with other people. Are we ready to get started on the second book?
I think so. Y'all ready? Yay! All right, here we go.
All right. So, "A Place Inside of Me," a poem to heal the heart. There's a place inside of me. A space deep down inside of me where all my feelings hide. They wait there in the darkness, a knot of electric emotion, seething, sizzling, burning, until I find the strength to reach inside. There is joy inside of me, a happiness deep down inside of me that glows bright and warm as the sun and shines delight on everything I see. There is sorrow inside of me, a sadness deep down inside of me that is cold and dark as a watery grave at the bottom of the sea. There is fear inside of me, a terror deep down inside of me that stalks me like a sinister shadow and seeps like poison into my dreams. There's anger inside of me, a fury deep down inside of me that is sharp enough to slice through air, flesh, bone, and concrete. And yet, there is hunger inside of me, a yearning deep down inside of me that refuses to be silenced or bound with chains and insists on being free. There is pride inside of me, no shame deep down inside of me, for I know how long and hard we have struggled, and against all odds, my people have emerged strong. Triumphant and beautiful. There is peace inside of me, a calm deep down inside of me that flows through my soul like a tranquil stream and hushes my whispering doubts. There is compassion inside of me, a tenderness deep down inside of me that tries to heal the wounds of the past and to forgive in spite of the lingering pain. There is still hope inside of me, a promise deep down inside of me that I will use my life to help others and they will help me in return. For there is love inside of me, true love deep down inside of me. I am in love with my people, all people, plus trees, sparrows, sunlight, and the rain that falls like a blessing from above. And when I look inside of me, to that place deep down inside of me, I remember to love myself most of all. That's the end.
I like that book. Why'd you choose that book? I'm curious.
It just, I thought it really touched a nerve. I mean, I know that there's a lot of things that have been really hard that people have been going through. And I think we've all felt all of those emotions at different times. We felt sorrow, we felt anger. And I love this book because it's like, you know, you work through all that and then it's like, how do you take something that's that's bad and turn it into something good. And the way to take something bad and turn it into something good is to realize that there's other people around you that you can connect with, who love you and support you, and you can love and support and be with them. And you know, I think that's a lot of what we do as teachers. You know, we're all about that. You know, and so whether it's been dealing with, you know, how hard it's been because of COVID and being away from each other and away from school, or because of all the injustice that we see when people get shot and killed, and especially if there's something that involves the police, and a lot of racial injustice in our society and in our community. But it's like, this is the way that we can try to really come together, and it starts with each one of us. I thought that last page was so powerful. Each one of us, it's like, love, when we love ourselves, then we can start loving other people.
Yeah, I love that last part too. I was going to mention that, like, yeah, I love myself so I can love everybody else too. That's self-love, that's self-care, something we talk about all the time. I like that book. That is a very, very, I might have to go buy that book. Thank you for reading that to us. Did y'all enjoy that? Good. We might have to hear that one again. That was beautiful. Well, Scott, do you have any parting words for us? Any words of advice that you would like to give our kids?
Well, first, I hope y'all read. You know, read any chance you have. It's awesome being able to listen to other people read to you and with you, and any chance you have to read, pick up anything something that interests you. I think the more we read, the more we learn, and the more we learn, the more we know, and the more we know, the more we grow. I just love that. And you know, the last piece of advice is always say thank you to your teachers, like Mr. Carey. They really care a lot about you, and they work hard for you. And I just want you to know how much they love you.
Thank you for that so much. Everybody say thank you. And we'll see you later. Thanks, Scott. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming. Everybody say bye.